All right, I'll call the meeting to order.
The meeting was posted according to open meeting laws.
Roll call.
President Johnson.
Here.
Trustee Renucci.
Here.
Commissioner Batani.
Here.
Commissioner Hayes.
Here.
Commissioner Leaderhouse.
Here.
Commissioner Morath. Thank you.
Okay, before I read my usual spiel about citizen participation, we do have lots of public hearings. So if you are here to comment on one of those items that has a public hearing, I would ask you to wait until then. Otherwise, feel free to come on up. So per Village Resolution 2017-01, anyone wishing to address the Plan Commission during citizen participation will be allowed 5 minutes. Your subject must specifically relate to matters under the jurisdiction of the Plan Commission, whether on the agenda or not. The Plan Commission should not engage in a discussion regarding comments because it was not part of the publicly noticed agenda. Upon conclusion of the citizen participation segment, members of the audience are not allowed further comment unless they're participating in a public hearing or if they're specifically allowed a majority vote of the Plan Commission due to involvement in an agenda item. That said, going once. Going twice. Okay, we'll close citizen participation. On to item 6, approve Plan Commission minutes from December 11th, 2023.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 7, one lot certified survey map to merge 2 adjoining parcels located at the northwest corner of County ES and State Highway 20. Gooden ES 20 LLC, applicant Ray Gooden agent, application 2023-31. You see Tim's memo. Tim, anything there you want to highlight?
Just a real quick question. I haven't been in the village during the day, but are the buildings still up? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, okay.
I'm sorry, you said the 14th? Okay. I guess I'll direct this to Eileen or Lori. Can we just make sure we put something on the website so people don't get upset, call the fire department? Other questions, Tim?
So there are just, a number of specific conditions. Many of them are just, minor details. Did send this over to the village engineer for his review, so that's in the works.
You saw this. You don't have any concerns?
No, but he's corrected me that the 14th, they're going to practice on the site. They're actually going to burn the buildings to the ground on the 1st.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
I will make a motion to recommend to the village board the approval of the certified survey map based on the general and specific conditions listed below. General conditions 1 through 4 and specific conditions 1 through 7.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 8, rezone 2 adjoining parcels RLC 0002 and RLC 0003 off of Energy Drive from Highway Business to General Industrial, TJ Properties, John Tyson agent, application 2023-39. I'll open the public hearing. Tim?
Well, at this time, what we're looking to do is go ahead and rezone these units to bring them so that way we can look at doing a planned development of storage sheds and storage condominiums. And this is going to be one of our first steps to make that happen, so.
So in a public hearing, does the commission have any questions for the applicant? Anyone in attendance have questions or comment on this application?
I was going to ask a question. Is this a continuance of the same usage that was there now on the lot?
I guess Tim would probably have to answer that because my understanding is when this was originally platted out back in 92, when John originally split this property, he had intended on doing storage units on the entire, the lots 2 and 3 that are currently undeveloped and vacant. And over the years, for whatever reason, he did the first section of the original 5 buildings that are there. And for whatever reason, he did not continue the project from there. So it sat vacant till now. In the meantime, my understanding is the village somewhere in 2000, 2003 changed some of the zoning codes and changed or started the smart development within the town, or the village, excuse me. Sorry, I'm so used to being in the town all the time. So my understanding is the village changed some of the codes and the uses and as it pertains to development within the village and handling that development itself rather than having the county, I believe, I guess, used to do some of that. So at any rate, the usage got changed from then until now, and now we're looking to bring it compliant with the current usage in the current zoning, so that way we can go ahead and start this next piece of development. So,
I guess my question is, though, is from what I'm seeing here, you're proposing to use the vacant lot for what the storage buildings are on now, correct? You're just going to continue storage?
yes. It'll be a slight variation in the aspect that we're looking at doing 2 buildings there. One building will be storage. Oh, sorry. One building, we're going to be doing 2 buildings there, and they will be facing each other. So they'll lay on the outside or on the side lot lines, okay? One building will be traditional storage sheds, which will be for rent. But then the other building will be a bigger building that will be 50 feet deep, and that will be storage condominiums. So those will be available for purchase or rent or lease. But yes, it falls within the regulation or within the zoning we're asking for.
You have a comment?
Just to clarify, the only thing that's on the agenda is the rezoning. So the proposed rezoning is consistent with the comp plan that was changed a couple years ago, showing it as industrial, and now they're following up with actual changing the zoning classification. Whatever, development that they want to propose in the future will be coming back before us. And a storage unit as being, proposed or contemplated is a conditional use. So there would be a public hearing at that time, and then we'll get into the details about the site plan layout later.
And no written comments received, right?
No comments.
Okay. All right, our public hearing is still open. We'll leave it open until we're ready to make a motion. Somebody ready to make a motion? Or do you have other questions?
All right, I'll make a motion to.
Hang on, so you're ready?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, I'll close the public hearing. Now you may make your motion.
Now I will make a motion to recommend to the village board the rezoning of the subject property as set forth in ordinance 2024-01 dated January 4, 2024.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. So just to make sure we stay on topic, for the next three items are all related to the same development, Overlook Ridge. Item 10, which is our, I'm sorry, 9, 10, and 11. So 9 is just the rezoning. So we're going to start with that. So if we keep the discussion to just that, and then we'll get into the development. So item 9, rezone 5 adjoining properties, parcels RXUP 00146, RXUP 00154, RXUP 00146, I'm sorry, 14C, RXUP 00146E, RXUP 00159 off of Main Street to MR10, Sewall Development, application 2023-35. So I guess, Kevin, since you got a bunch of these, if you want to come up here. So I guess first, from a memo standpoint, Tim, do you want to introduce kind of what we're doing here, and then we'll take questions and comments?
So point of clarification on the reference to the staff report, 4 of the 5 parcels are highway business. The parcel on the on the west side is actually zoned single family, but they are all going to the MR10 zoning classification. So just clarification on that. It is consistent with the comp plan. We've obviously seen this any number of times before. Probably now would be a good time to point out that the rezoning is still subject to the comp plan, but there is a stipulation in the comp plan that talks about no more rezonings for multifamily, because we've exceeded the threshold between multifamily and single family. But there is a caveat that says if a development project is related to tight or a TIF blight situation, that is exempt. So that's why this is moving forward relative to that comp plan limitation, so.
So I guess first, any questions from the commission?
So I guess, Tim, just remind us, what if we did it to a MR10, what would that mean?
So the base density is 1 or 10 units per acre. That will, going from what it is now to the MR10, allows them to submit an application for a PUD, still a multifamily, but at a higher density.
Any comments? If no other questions right now from the commission, any comments or questions from the audience on the rezoning? Kevin, anything you want to add?
No.
I will motion to the village board to keep,
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I will officially close in the public hearing if we're done, if no other comments.
okay, I will motion to the village board to keep the zoning in this area the same.
Is there a
As it is
second?
now.
Is there a second to that motion? Is there a second to the motion? Okay, seeing no second to the motion. Is there a second to the motion? Okay. As there is no second to that motion, the motion is not going to be, dies for lack of, thank you for giving me that. The chair would entertain a motion.
I will make a motion that we, excuse me, what is the, yes. Recommend to the village board the rezoning of the subject property is set forth in ordinance 2024-2 dated January 4th, 2024. And I believe that would be MR10 in the zoning, correct?
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion on that motion or questions?
Can we amend it to say that it has to stay at MR10 and nothing else?
You're welcome to offer an amendment to the motion. Can you clarify those?
So basically, you can't, as a part of a rezoning, prohibit somebody from applying for something that's otherwise allowed through the zoning code. So the short answer is no.
Any other questions or discussion on the motion? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed?
Okay, motion prevails. Item 10, General Development Plan for Overlook Ridge, a proposed planned development district with a total of 145 multifamily dwelling units, Sowall Development, application 2023-36. I will open this public hearing. So I think this is going to have a little bit more, I guess, Tim, do you want to, anything from your memo that you want to introduce? And then Kevin will let you do your presentation, and then we'll take questions from the commission and the public.
So to kind of set the stage for this project, there are two items on the agenda for action tonight. The first is the general development plan, and that's basically creating a brand-new customized zoning district just for the property. Okay, it's kind of like rezoning, except the difference is we're rezoning and creating new standards for this development project in terms of building height, in terms of density, and those kinds of things. So that's the general development plan. And there's an ordinance for that, and obviously, the Plan Commission will make a recommendation to the village board, and the village board will, presumably take final action at their next meeting. The second part to the overall project is the final development plan. And if you kind of think about the final development plan like you would a site plan, it's basically got all the details in terms of, parking and, landscaping and outdoor lighting and buildings and so on and so forth. So that's a final development plan is reviewable only by the Plan Commission. So just like a site plan, you have final authority over that. As we'll get into a little bit later, the general development plan is something that you can act on tonight if you're so inclined. But with regard to the final development plan, again, that's a very detailed set of plans. There are some issues relative to the primary environmental corridor that Sewer PAC wants to get involved in. And because of that, we can, talk about the final development plan, identify any, comments, questions, issues that Plan Commission might have relative to that. But we'll hold that or that final action until the next month's meeting, presumably. By that time, we'll have more clarification from Sewer PAC, again, on that point. So that's kind of the high level of the two different parts. And I do have some comments relative to the final development plan, but if, Kevin, if you want to give an overall presentation, that'd be great.
Yeah. So this is, it's very similar to what you guys have seen before, but we have updated it with a few of our different updates that we have. So we are a full-service boutique developer, which means we do development. We also have our own construction department, and then we also have our own property management firm that we use as well. So that's all part of that. This is a project that we did in Union Grove. It's 73 townhome-style units. There is 2,000 square feet of commercial space with a drive-through, and this generated over $10 million in value for the village. And the reason, last time you saw this, we're an award-winning developer, and we're really proud of that, so that's why we start with that project. And next one, this is one of our big projects also, Mammoth Springs in Sussex. It's a three-phase, 300-unit apartment and townhome project with over 42,000 square feet of commercial and office space. We have a coffee shop, gelato cafe, and pizza parlor, restaurant and outdoor beer garden, as well as Ascension Healthcare is there. This generated $50 million in value to the village, and it was a three-phase construction project. And that's just some interior shots. The reason we kind of talk about all these projects is because all of these sites had different challenges that we had to approach, whether it be environmental or just similar to what we're facing with Sewer PAC now. Obviously, just anytime you do a development, challenges come up, and in each project, obviously, we worked with the village and we were able to overcome those challenges. So that's kind of why we start with talking about the different projects. So if you want to go to the next slide. This is the parcel we're talking about. It is a little bit nicer now, but not there yet. So I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that. So the overview for our project, it's going to be 4.9. It's going to be a 4.9 acre development, 145 luxury apartment units. We're going to have a mix of studios, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedroom units. The majority of the units are 1s and 2 bedrooms, about 90% are, and then 5% would be studios, 5% would be 3 bedrooms. And I think specifically with these 2 buildings that we're proposing, it's even a little bit lower on the studio side, with only about 3 to 4% as studio apartments. All units have private balconies or a patio area. So the first floor units, you can walk right out. We have a nice concrete slab there. And the second story, third story, fourth story all have their own private balconies, which they get to use like 4 times, 4 times a year here in Wisconsin, as we're going to find out tomorrow. Our apartment complex features a pool and an overlook deck. That was one of the really big, like, main features that we really loved about this site, is when you walk back there, you get to see these really great views. So we thought this site kind of optimized the space of the site and also optimized those views. And basically, by creating that overlook deck, we could kind of put chairs out there, do a pool, and just kind of let people enjoy that. So we were really excited about that. We're also excited about this next feature, which is your sidewalk that's coming in and all the great things that they get to walk to in downtown East Troy, all the great shops that you guys have down there, the brewery, the bookstore, all those great things. All the lower level units, like I said before, have walkout patios, and then we have some green space there as well. We have 55 underground parking spaces with storage, so some of the units have their own separate storage kind of area there as well, so people really enjoy that. And then this is our total projected value for this project would be $21 million. So this is a overview of the site. You can see we have the 2 L-shaped buildings there. They're just mirrored buildings. In the middle, you can see we have our pool with our overlook deck. And then we also have a little storage garage on top there. And so we have a total of 177 surface parking spaces and 110 underground parking spaces. This is the landscape plan. So it's not very obvious, but that is why I did hand out this copy here that goes a little bit more in depth, kind of breaks down some of the plantings that we have there. So as you can see, we do have screenage along the road. We do have some trees there, and then we also do have some trees to the west as well, because there's that house there. And then we have obviously plantings all along the bushes, all along the building as well. Everything we do is what we call salt hardy or winter hardy bushes, so that we don't have to go through and replace them every year. That's a big thing, because obviously with any sort of parking lot, you have a lot of salt that gets used and thrown down. And then in the back, so actually one of the things that we're going through with sewer pack right now is we kind of want to possibly grade on that slope a little bit and then stabilize the soil with native grasses, which are just really deep-rooted grasses. So that is what we're going to be doing on the back end there. All right, next slide. Thank you. And that's our overhead shot, so you can kind of see that. That's, I know last time there were some concerns about the size of the parking lot and things like that, so we kind of did this overhead shot here to show the size of the parking lot, and then also just the size of the buildings overall on the site. One of the things that we really wanted to do is make sure we push those buildings all the way kind of far back there. It's going to not allow them to be seen too much by the street, and then it's also going to maximize those views that you have in the back. And then that is our height comparison. So one of the big things that we've had a lot of questions about was, how tall is the building? So the building is 47 feet and 6 inches tall. And we decided to go around and take a look at different heights of other apartment complexes that were, so to kind of give a good estimate of how tall it is. I think I'm going to touch on 2 here. The Lofts of Honey Creek, which is in East Troy, that's 50 feet tall, and that is a 3-story building with a pitched roof. So one of the reasons why we want to do a flat roof was because it's actually going to be It won't be as tall as a 3-story building with a pitched roof. So, and then also the Point in McGuanago, that is another 3-story building, and that is going to be 46 feet tall. So we're kind of, if you go to McGuanago, it's close, it's going to be a very similar sized building, and I have a picture of it in the top left there. So, next slide. And that is the exterior rendering as well. Those are the colors we picked. I think I talked a little bit about kind of what our design philosophy was there, trying to understanding that we have a very long building, and that by using kind of full groupings of colors vertically, what you're going to do is you're going to create a lot of depth to the building, and that's going to help break that building up when you look at it straight on. So we've tried to do that quite a bit with the bump outs, and then we've also done it with the siding, like I said, that long kind of vertical siding. And that is one of Tim's many contributions to the project. I'm just going to say that every time I see it, which is we decided to go through and add some really cool kind of colorful siding on there as well, which is also going to help break it up. Our amenities that we have. So we have some really awesome amenities, as you've heard me talk about so many times. We're going to have a gym there with a yoga and a stretching room. Kind of our goal is we do a full-service gym. So the goal is if we have tenants that come in there, we want them to get rid of their gym membership and to just use our gym. And then we're also going to have some outdoor gas grills on the overlook deck, which will be really cool. So people can go there, they can eat, they can have a good time, they can hop in the pool 30 minutes after they eat or something. And then we also have a community room and that you can rent out. And one of the great things about that is obviously it's the holidays have just come up and Christmas and New Year's. So people like to rent the community room when they invite their family over because it kind of allows them to spread out and things like that. And then we also have a dog park, which is great because it kind of confines the dogs all to one area. And then we also have dog wash stations so that people don't have to hose their dogs off in the tub and all that stuff. They can just go there and they can use those dog wash stations. People really like that. So, and there we go. So, sorry I tried to get through that relatively. I know you've seen that multiple times at this point.
Okay, so thanks, Kevin. I guess first from the commission, any questions for him?
Well, like I stated earlier, or at the last meeting, this is a really nice complex. It looks really nice, but in this area of the town, or the village, I don't think it's appropriate myself. And when you have the height comparisons, when you compare Honey Creek and McGuanago, you can't really compare that because Honey Creek is out of town, basically. And McGuanago is McGuanago. We're talking a block away from our square. And that's a whole different subject than Honey Creek or anything else. My opinion only, is that this would be better served somewhere else in the village instead of right here. I think this land could be better used for something else that would fit in that area.
Other questions or comments from the commission?
My only question is on the second approach here, the driveway entry, looks like it's going to the west garage. Is that just best suited because it's so tight to the curb to have the second approach rather than having it come through the parking lot?
Yeah, so that's a really steep drop off that we have there. So the high point is actually on the east end and then it slopes down. So if we were to do that from the garage, it would be a really steep drop off. That's why we had to do it from the street.
I got, on the main entrance coming in, on one of the drawings, or maybe it was on my thing here, it's 26 foot wide. And is that going to be able to run the fire trucks in and make the curves at the corners?
Yes. So that was actually one of the requirements that we had. For the general development plan, we submitted a plan, or we submitted a drawing and we did a test that had actually according to your ordinance, we have to do a semi truck and also a fire truck. So we had a fire truck that was able to go all around the parking lot as well as a semi. And then we also have it set up in a way that a hose could be taken all the way around the building as well. So the whole building is able to be accessed with the fire department, by the fire department.
All right, now down in the lower part where the parking structure is underground, is there going to be standpipes down there in case there is a fire down there where they can hook up?
I believe we're going to have one on every floor. Last time we talked to your fire chief, that was his recommendation.
Okay. And
Every floor, but also in the parking area? You're talking
in
about
the
the down in the parking area, the
Right, the
underground?
parking
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
there also, there'll be fans down there because of the engines running
Yep,
and
yeah,
stuff
we have an
like that.
exhaust fan.
Okay.
Any comments or questions from the audience? Okay. Any other questions from anyone?
So Kevin, if you would kind of talk about the proposed changes or the flexibility with regard to density and those kinds of things. There's 4 different ones, if you just kind of touch on those.
Sure, yeah, so if the planning commission wants, I do have it outlined in the packet here. So the way I did it was I went through what the MR10 requirements are, and then next to it, I put what our proposed PUD was, specifically highlighting any changes in red. I used some red font there. So the, your requirement for building height for the MR10 is 35 feet, and this is a 47 and 6-inch tall building. And then we also have another thing that we are asking for is the impervious surface can only be 50% of the lot. Obviously, with our parking lot and the drives and all that stuff, our impervious surface is 58% of the lot area. And then also, we are asking for a smaller square foot per dwelling unit. So in your MR10 code, your residential square foot per dwelling unit is 4,000 square feet. And we're asking for 1,000 square feet per dwelling unit for the lot area. And that's also, sorry, that's the parking lot area. And that is, I believe, all the exceptions we're asking for. It just basically has to do, a good chunk of it has to do with the height of the building and the parking lot.
Well, the other one that you kind of touched on is basically the overall density, right? Okay. So the standard is 10 dwelling units per acre, and they're asking for 30?
Yes.
Which is just right below the 147 dwelling unit count.
Yes, sorry, I forgot to highlight that one, but yeah, so the standard in the village is 10 dwelling units per acre, and we're asking for 30 units per acre.
So, Tim, I guess I got a clarifying question, if you could. So all this stuff in the red that they're proposing, shouldn't that be taken care of before we vote on a site plan or anything?
So that is kind of baked into the general development plan. There's an ordinance as part of the packet. It identifies that, that the proposal is to create a planned unit development district. And it's going to be under the MR10 zoning classification, except for the 4 points where it's going to be more density and a taller building. So that's kind of laying out the basic parameters of the project. And when we get into the actual site plan is when we see that building on paper and parking lot laid out.
So, Tim, this is similar to the church, like when we discussed requirements for the business in our December meeting for the church there. This is similar where this is a very unique situation, right?
Correct. And again, general development plan, you're rezoning and you're creating a brand-new zoning district, specifically to these 5 properties.
So tonight, we're not really approving the, the new density or the roof height or anything like that?
Yes, as part of the Plan Commission recommendation, that is part of the overall approval of the project is those basic zoning parameters. So yes, that's under the general development plan.
Other questions? Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times? Because I was told I have to ask 3 times. All right, I will close the public hearing on the general development plan.
All right, well, I will make a motion to recommend the approval of the GDP as set forth in ordinance 2024-03 as drafted.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Oppose?
Motion carries. Okay, so item 11 is kind of what Tim referred to. There are some details. We will discuss it, but we're not going to do a public hearing on this, so I'll read it in. Final development plan for Overlook Ridge, a proposed planned development district with a total of 145 multifamily dwelling units. So all development application 2023-37. So I guess, Tim, do you want to go through your specific items for the final plan, and then we'll make a motion to postpone this to the next meeting?
Yep. So I'm looking at my staff report again for the final development plan. You know, again, just like a site plan, we look at parking and landscaping and so on and so forth. So just a couple of things to talk about. You know, obviously you've seen the building elevations for the buildings. Obviously, you know, they are four-sided architecture, meaning it's well designed all the way around with basically the same materials. As was pointed out, there's a patio and or a balcony, which is a really nice feature. Just in terms of breaking up the facade and, you know, for the benefit of having that. There are 2 access points. The Director of Public Works has reviewed those access points and is agreeable to them. Parking, the numbers satisfy the basic zoning code requirements. I'm not sure if you noticed it, but as part of the overall site plan, they're proposing underground stormwater chambers as opposed to a stormwater basin. You're seeing that a lot more. It's just a really nice, efficient way of handling stormwater without taking up a lot of room. It costs more, but landscaping and buffer yard. In my memo, I mentioned that there might be a need to have a buffer yard on the west side up against a single family. I did talk to Kevin, and he did point out that that property, even though it's a single-family house, it's zoned as the business or downtown transition district. So a buffer yard is not going to be required in that location. Already talked about the fire department access in terms of the truck turning movements. Just a point of clarification, there is going to be a walkway along the backside. We want to have that on the site plan, you know, called out as a specific, you know, part of the site plan. And it's basically so that the fire department personnel can drag their hoses on the backside and have access. Outdoor lighting, you know, there's going to be, you know, parking lot lighting. They are working out a photometric plan right now.
Yes, we are.
The final point on the first page is there's a tree protection ordinance. It's outside of the zoning code, but it relates to, you know, trees over a certain diameter, 8 inches in diameter, and how many of those trees can be taken out by right, and what happens if you take out too many, then you have to replant, and they're working on that right now.
Yes, we're working on that with the landscaper, Reisman's.
Again, second page, primary environmental corridor, that's still kind of up in the air, whether it applies, whether it doesn't, and what it actually means if it does apply. They did include a set of plans for the monument sign. That's by the first access point to the west side of the project. That will be on the next month's agenda as a separate agenda item. Aside from that, again, final development plan is under the purview of the Plan Commission. You would simply, you know, make a motion to approve when you're at that point. And again, the intent here is to go through these and talk about any issues that you might have or any comments, questions, and table it until next month's meeting.
I would just say, Kevin, as you put together the light plan, just and I think we've talked about this, just making sure that we're good neighbors. And we have some lighting and surrounding communities that as you drive by the road, it's a little blinding even in the car. So just keep that in mind, please.
Will do.
Okay, any questions for Tim or Kevin?
So, Tim, just, the parking lot with the parking spots, is it dealt with the same way as a business where you have to have so many handicap spots?
Yep.
And does that meet the,
Yes, it's
Yeah, I think I'd asked you this at one point, Kevin, about electric vehicle charging and capabilities for that. Will that be in the final plan?
Yes. So we will have we'll have one charger in each of the underground parking, in each of the buildings for the underground parking, and then we'll have one on the exterior.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, I'll make a motion to postpone this item until a later date, to give the developer time to finalize with Sewer Pack the extent of the primary environment corridor and revise plans as may be necessary.
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I believe the next item is recommendations for future agendas. So Kevin, you can step down. Thank you. Tim, any updates on these? Okay. Any items for discussion on these that you'd like to bring up to Tim, or other items you'd like to add to the list?
I guess, I'm just curious. I got one question. I was looking at the paperwork earlier, and MR10 has got 10 DU units. Is that domicile units?
dwelling units.
Dwelling units, okay.
Okay, if no other items for discussion on item 12, our next meeting is February 12th, 2024 at 6:30, and I will make your motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Good night, be careful, and if you don't know East